And tonight our proclamation is to welcome home Vietnam Veterans Day, and I believe in the audience we have.
Well, then Rolf is running around trying to get his words that he left at the VFW, but I'm the post commander, so I'll stand in until the Vietnam vet gets here. How about that?
All right, okay. Did he want to say a few words?
He'll probably say a few words when he gets here.
We'll read slowly then.
Okay.
Whereas, members of the United States Armed Forces begun serving in an advisory role to the government of the Republic of South Vietnam in 1961, and whereas, in 1965, United States Armed Forces ground combat units arrived in Vietnam, and whereas, by the end of 1965, there were 80,000 United States troops in Vietnam, and by 1969, a peak of approximately 543,000 troops was reached. And whereas, on January 27, 1973, the Treaty of Paris was signed, which required the release of all United States prisoners of war held in North Vietnam and the withdrawal of all United States Armed Forces from South Vietnam. And whereas, on March 30th, 1973, the United States Armed Forces completed the withdrawal of combat support units from South Vietnam. And whereas, more than 58,000 members of the United States Armed Forces lost their lives in Vietnam, and more than 300,000 members of the armed forces were wounded. And whereas, the Vietnam War was an extremely divisive issue among the people of the United States, and was also a conflict that caused a generation of veterans to wait too long for the United States public to acknowledge and honor the efforts and services of such veterans. And whereas, Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day is an appropriate way to honor those members of the United States Armed Forces who served in South Vietnam and throughout Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Leavenworth designate March 29th as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day. The people of Leavenworth are encouraged to observe appropriate ceremonies and activities to provide appreciation to the Vietnam War veterans. Local organizations are encouraged to promote opportunities for such veterans to assist younger veterans returning from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and in rehabilitation from wounds, both seen and unseen, and to support the reintegration of younger veterans into civilian life. In witness thereof, I, Lisa Weekly, Mayor Pro Tem, have unto put my hand and seal of the great city of Leavenworth to hereby proclaim March 29th as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You read that, and
Sure.
I understand you want a few words?
Probably as you know, and Laura and Larry know, I always try to say a few words. It's always an honor to be here to speak on behalf of my fellow brothers and sisters from the Vietnam era and Vietnam veterans. I come today as a member of the local VFW, the American Legion, the Disabled American Veterans, the Vietnam Veterans Association. People in my generation, my era, and everything else. You know, we've sworn that we would never let another generation of soldiers, airmen, Marines, Coast Guard, our military ever be treated like we were. I think we've done a pretty good job. But we couldn't do it without the American people either. And it's still a long chore, and we still are at war today. The Vietnam War was probably the most divisive conflict in U.S. history since the Civil War. And it divided the nation and left us a lasting legacy that in many ways is still with us still today. In the years during and after the conflict, the ire of those who were against the war fell on those like me who fought it. Popular culture of the time reflects the Vietnam veteran stereotype as a burnout, drugged up baby killer, haunted by what he did in the war. But by the 1970s, there started to be a slow movement and a turn in the country. And it probably wasn't until the Vietnam Memorial was dedicated in November 1982 that, with a lot of fanfare and 150,000 veterans present in attendance, that we began a national cleansing, if you will, and a release of our emotions about those of us who were there. So many of my friends and brothers and sisters still can't talk about their experiences. And we know about the suicide rates, and we know about the PTSD. That was in 2008 that the United States decided to do something. As part of the 2008 National Defense Authorization Act, Department of Defense was charged to conduct a program to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. And the law did call for federal government agencies, state and local governments, and other people and organizations to thank and honor veterans, to recognize the contributions of those on the home front, those Vietnam War era veterans, and the families, and to recognize those who fought with us, to include our allies. And I know our community is rich in our international support. So thank you for doing your part to honor these brave men and women, my brothers and sisters. Patriots one and all. Those who served in country, and again, the Vietnam era veterans who did their duty too. And let's never forget or stop our search for our POWs and our MIAs. So, thank you.
Thank you.